Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. It is, as you all know, we've been talking about the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and there's no better way to celebrate than with our special guest this morning. The Sugar Hill Gang, known as the first national popular African American hip hop group, comprised three members: Mike Wright, Wonder Mike, Henry Jackson, Big Bank Hank, and Guy O'Brien, Master G, all from Inglewood, New Jersey. The group is best known for his 1979 hit single, Rapper's Delight, which was also the first hip hop single to rank in the top 40 hits and to become part of a multi platinum selling album. Rapper's Delight is also credited with popularizing hip hop as a new musical genre. This morning, we speak to the one and only Master G of the Sugar Hill Gang. But also, Chris Rock waited a year to hit back, and he appeared to get a lot off his chest. But first, we discuss with Rashonda Tate Billingsley the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday that took place, and President Joe Biden had a lot to say about voting rights. Rashonda, voting rights. The president took that opportunity yesterday to assail voter suppression and call for economic justice for Black Americans during his remarks at the Edmund Pettus Bridge yesterday. Every year, big to do, but nothing has changed. Are you on mute, Rashonda? I think we don't have any connection with Rashonda.
It's
Oh,
it's
there
it's
she is.
early. I'm on that central time. It always takes me a minute to
Gotta
warm
get
up
that
here.
coffee
Sorry
going,
about
girl.
that. Right? Yeah, he made his fresh appeal for voting rights. He did the usual talk. I think people are getting to the point where they're tired of the talk. I mean, I think it is admirable. I think it is great that he was there, that he recognized it. But I think it's people are past the point of this annual event just being an annual event without
Yeah.
action.
Absolutely. Among those there, Dr. Chavis, our president and CEO, representing the National Newspaper Publishers Association, of course, a civil rights icon in himself. He was there as the president doubled down on his calls for Congress to pass two key federal voting rights bills that remain dormant on Capitol Hill: the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And so that continues to languish, Rashonda, in Congress. We will see. Like you said, every year it's sort of gotten perfunctory. It's just let's
Right.
make something happen.
He says the voting rights are still under attack, which we know. But I give him the props for being there. I just would like for us to finally, on this 50th anniversary, take it past the point of talking and get to the
Right.
point of doing.
Yep. A lot of talk, no action. And Mashonda, real quick, 1 year later, after Will Smith slapped the taste out of Chris Rock's mouth, Chris slapped back kind of hard. It was certainly not as startling as Will's hitting him at the Oscars, but his awaited response in the new Netflix stand-up special, Selective Outrage, had moments that felt, some say, emotional, messy, and fierce. It was called the least rehearsed and most revenant material in an uneven hour. Um, just real quick, we spent a lot of time on this on Friday. Now we've seen the results. From my vantage point, it looks like he was very emotional, a mess, as they said. I mean, some things were absolutely hilarious, and then others found things just totally wrong. He lost fans, in other words, in some things, and he gained some on others.
You
Your
know, I
take? You went mute on us again.
yeah, I never have been a huge Chris Rock fan. Okay, I didn't mute me. Can you hear me? All
I
right.
can hear you.
I never have been a big. Okay, all right. I've never been a big Chris Rock of his comedy. I love his acting more. So I'm really one of the things when I went in with an open mind on this because he was slapped on national television. So it felt like
Mhm.
this was his payback. Honestly, when I finished, I was like, Will and Jada kind of got off easy. It was raw. You could see some of the pain on his face, but I know some people that would have scorched him a whole lot more. I
Well,
did take issue with Chris with the B word,
look,
calling Jada that. But other than that, I think he took it kind of easy on him.
yeah. Well, it was like they said, a very uneven performance. There was others like Arsenio Hall who kind of went in on Jada and Will as well on the program that led up to Chris coming on stage to close it out. But Power 96 says Chris Rock should be slapped again. There's nothing funny about, and this is the part that I keep seeing. There's nothing funny about an enslaved black man being whipped. His mother should have taught him not to use the N word. The part about this, so Chris, one of the things he said was, he loves Will Smith, blah blah blah, his movies and stuff. But now his favorite is this new one, the Emancipation, I guess it is, where he's a slave, gets whipped all this time. So and a lot of black that's
Mhm.
just set. It was set wrong with a lot of black folks. That part right there, and his continued
Yeah,
attacking Jada.
yeah, he went in on Jada, and Will, but he did give Will some props.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I kind of felt sorry for Jada as I was watching it. I was like, I hope she doesn't see this because it was cringeworthy, but it was typical Chris Rock. If you're a fan of Chris, you like it. It was no different than any of his previous show, except he just kind of ended it on a personal note.
yeah. It seemed like it got a little very personal. So, and you said, if she was watching, there's no doubt in
I
my
had some
mind that
people
Will
say,
and Jada were watching. There's no doubt in
I
my
know,
mind they were
right?
watching. Look,
Yeah,
Chris obviously
I
watches
had a
Red Table
comedian.
Talk.
Well, yeah. I had a comedian friend say, had I been Chris Rock, it would have been a lawsuit and a 20-minute whole routine dragging Will and Jada closing my show out. So I kind of think
Yeah,
they did. As raw as it may have been, I'll give him that for the humiliating slap heard across the world.
yeah, yeah. And that was it, right? It was the slap heard across the world. Absolutely. Well, Rashonda, on March 11th, this coming Saturday, the National Hip Hop Museum Grand Induction. Now, this is the National Hip Hop Museum. It's different from the Universal Hip Hop Museum that's going up in the Bronx. So just want to make sure we clarify that right away. But the National Hip Hop Museum Grand Induction Ceremony and grand opening of its retail and event space with Executive Director Master G, the founder of the Sugar Hill Gang, and founder collector Jeremy Beaver, DJ Boom. It's happening this Saturday in Washington, D.C. And look, y'all remember Rapper's Delight. Y'all remember buying that record. I remember having my mom bringing that record home. We playing it. That record was done before. If you brought it home Monday, it was done by Friday. It was scratched up because we played it that much. But the author of that record is here with us this morning. Welcome, the one and only Master G from the Sugar Hill Gang.
What's happening? How you doing?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's
Good
before
morning.
we get in,
Can,
go ahead.
can I jump in as he's
Jump
coming
in.
on? See, I'm the perfect person for this because I'm a journalist, an author, an anchor, all of this. But before I was all of that,
Uh-oh.
I was a rapper. And I
Uh-oh.
was
Uh-oh.
a rapper because I could do the Sugar Hill Gang in the 8th grade, every single word. So you boosted my popularity because I could do every single word of the Sugar Hill
Well,
Gang's
there
Rapper's
you
Delight.
go. Well, we appreciate you. We definitely appreciate you. Thank
Well,
you.
look, we gotta after the show, man, we gotta get Rashonda to throw down some
I'm saying,
rap.
I mean, that's
Man,
why anytime somebody tells me all the words, then I call them on it. Let me hear it.
there you go. There you go. Master G, let's get into what's happening Saturday before we get into anything else, because that's a huge thing that's happening. The induction
Yes.
ceremony.
Yes.
Tell us about it, and tell us a little bit about the National Hip Hop Museum, which is in Washington, D.C.
Yes. Well, the National Hip Hop Museum is a concept that Jeremy Beaver and I actually came together on about 5 years ago, because I've been in the DMV now going on 10 years, and I was actually looking to do some radio stuff. And Jeremy had like an internet radio station, but he was also a huge hip hop fan and collector. And just in the conversation, we decided to, put this thing together and do something here in DC because this is the home of museums. Shout out to Rocky with the Universal Hip Hop Museum up in New York, because that's a phenomenal situation. And so what we felt like is we would complement what was going on in New York down here in the DMV, because hip hop is something that has to be documented, and we have to put something in effect that's going to make sure that it lasts, over the generations. And because we are the first commercially successful, hip hop group in the world, it just made sense from a business standpoint, because not only am I a recording artist, but I also have been fortunate enough to be successful in the business world. It made sense for me to put those skills and those abilities towards preserving the legacy of what we do.
Yeah, Power 96 writes in that when rapping was real, respect Master G. So basically he's saying that's when rapping was real. So, Rashonda, let me throw it over to you. And she keeps going on mute on us, Master
One
G.
of the things I'm
Go
not
ahead, you
showing on
good.
me. One of the things that okay, one of the things that one questions I have is that as you're going over this, do you ever get to a point where you're tired of people coming up to you and saying, "Okay, Rapper's Delight"? I mean, this is years and years and decades of this. Do you ever
40,
tire of it?
no, because see, this is the thing. You have to understand something, that as a recording artist, there's millions of people out here that, are aspiring to do what I do. I perform all over the world. I have a very good life. I've been very successful in my endeavors. And that success and the ability to do what I do comes as a direct result of Rapper's Delight. Rapper's Delight is my license to the world. Rapper's Delight is my permit, my passport to be able to do the things that I want to do. So I'll never be tired of the thing that gives me the ability to do my thing.
Mm. And we talked about Will Smith, but check this out. Y'all remember that one of the other Sugar Hill Gang songs that really took off, and the popularity returned because of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show with Will and
Absolutely.
Carlton doing that dance, right?
Yes. So a lot of people don't understand that the segment where Carlton and Will did the dance, they did it to one of our records, and the record's called Apache.
Yep.
But what happened is, over the generation of time, because they used the segment of the song that says "Jump on It," the younger generation renamed the song "Jump on It." So, like, a
Yep.
lot of times we'll be in a situation and they'll say, "Well, Master G, he's one of the he wrote and performed Apache, the thing they did with Will Smith," and people will be like, "What, Apache? Like, Jump on It." Oh, wait a minute, it's the same record, it's the same recording, there's no different, but it became so popular in the '90s that the original song has now been renamed "Jump on It." But it's a bigger record today than it was 30 plus years ago.
To take us back to Rapper's Delight, you and I had a chance to speak last week.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about, and I remember so well, it was the ABC Channel 7 in New York's
Yes.
news crew.
Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News. Yep.
Yeah.
My man John Johnson and all those guys.
Yep.
They captured you guys. You were in Inglewood. They captured you guys doing Rapper's Delight, and that really, from that point, you guys took off. Your fame took off. The record took off. Everything took off. Tell us about that. How that came about.
Well, I did parties. So at that point, people always ask me about what the hip hop scene was. Well, first of all, I was in the Englewood, Hackensack, and Teaneck area. I was born in New York and raised in that the northern New Jersey area. And I was the hip hop scene in those towns at that time. So I did basement parties and I did high school dance parties. And that's what happened when Miss Robinson, shout out to Miss Robinson, who's no longer with us.
Sylvia Robinson, guys.
Sylvia Robinson, yeah. When Miss Robinson saw the rap being done in Harlem World, she lived in Jersey. She lived in our town. So she started looking for talent in the area. And I just happened to walk up on the situation. And so the reason why they did the interview at the pizza parlor is because that's where we got discovered. We got discovered at this place called Crispy Crust Pizza on Palisade Avenue in Englewood, New Jersey. And that was the deal. It was us, my little group, Phase 2. If you listen to Rapper's Delight.
Phase 2. What you gonna do? I remember Phase 2.
Phase 2, doing the do, rocking you down because you could. Yeah.
Yep.
Because we could. That was me trying to promote my DJ group. And then Mike says, in the Sound on Sound Getting Down, he was promoting his DJ group. And that was the entire hip hop scene in our area. So that's what the situation was. we actually were in the right place at the right time. Mike was doing parties in the area with a group called Sound on Sound. I was doing my thing with Phase Two. We met
Yeah.
Sylvia. We went into the studio. The reason why the Good Times was used because that was the break beat of the summer,
Yep.
and that was that. One thing happened and another thing came in front, and then boom, the record was made, and history has been created.
But speaking of Good Times, Now
You know
Rises
what?
was both happy and not happy.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
You know,
But
when my
he's
daughter first heard the song, she was like, "This song is so long," and I don't think we ever thought about the length of the song.
No,
Did
we
you all
didn't.
you were like, "We just rapping"?
well. See, this is the thing too. Now you got to understand. It was our first time. It wasn't my first time in the studio because my father was a recording engineer. So I grew up in studios. That's actually how I started playing drums, and I knew about the studio, but I had never recorded anything in the studio. Neither had Mike and neither had Hank. Miss Robinson again knew about that, and so what happened was, well, we had decided that Mike was going to go first, Hank was going to go second, I was going to go third. They had already recorded the music. They had already had the musicians go in there and re-record. There was no such thing as sampling either. So that's what people have to understand. The music wasn't sampled; it was re-recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And so when
Wow.
when they hit record, Mike the thing is called the pass. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me Wonder Mike what he waiting for. It's called the pass. That lets the next person know that I'm going to start, and you can keep going, and so it won't be a break in the rapping. So Mike passed it to Hank. Hank passed it to me. Now the music kept playing. Nobody said anything, so I figured, okay, pass it back to Mike. So I passed it back to Mike. Mike passed it back to Hank, and the same thing happened. So we kept going because nobody in the control room said you guys should stop. And the only reason why we stopped is because the music stopped. So had they recorded 30 minutes of music, we would have done it for 30 minutes. But it just so happened it was 15 minutes of music. And then the other crazy thing is they kept the whole thing. So that's why it's so long, because we didn't know we were supposed to stop.
Well, I got a question for you. Have you ever went
I
over a
got an
friend's
answer.
house to eat and the food was just
Have you been there? You been to that place?
Tell me
And the food
about
was
it.
no good? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
The
mean, the
macaroni was
macaroni
soggy,
was
the peas were
soggy
mush.
and the
And the
chicken
what?
tastes
And the
like
chicken
And the
what?
tastes
chicken
like what?
tastes like
Yeah. Man, you was there too? Wow.
Listen,
Yeah.
Master G, we talk about a lot about Rappers Delight, and rightfully so, because that's
Mhm.
really what kicked it all off. I mean, back
It
then
is.
you had Sugar Hill Gang with Rappers Delight. Then it was followed. Really, I think
Curtis
it
Blow.
came
Curtis
before.
Blow.
Yeah, it came, and
Everything.
even Flash's
Everything. Everything.
seminal
Everything.
the
Let me say
message.
this. Let me stop you guys. Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, is the first commercially successful rap record on the planet Earth. Sugar Hill Gang is the first
Yep.
commercially successful rap group in the world. Period,
Yep.
point blank. There was nothing commercially worldwide before us.
Dr. Nicole says, growing up, we all love the Sugar Hill Gang and also the Last Dragon with his little brother Leo. Both are
Yeah.
legendary and iconic
Thank you.
parts of
Thank
our
you.
childhood. She said,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, yes. That was a great time in our life. My brother and I, we had a good time involved with that project. Mr. Gordy, shout out to Mr. Gordy, who was a
Yep.
phenomenal man. Yeah.
And Barry Gordy is phenomenal. Have y'all seen Barry Gordy lately? He's 93 years old. He still
He's
looks like he's like
timeless.
53.
He's timeless.
Mm.
Mr. Gordy is one of the most profound. Let me say this real quick. Mr. Gordy is one of the most profound people I've met in my life. I don't know his, whatever happened. There's a lot of, things connected him, but there's a lot of things connected to Miss Robinson,
Right.
and so I mean everybody's got their own thing. But as far as my experience with Mr. Gordy, he was one of the most profound people I've ever met in my life. He still is to this day.
Yeah. And we can't forget Eighth Wonder. Oh my goodness.
Great
We
record.
cannot. Yes. I mean
That's my breakout record. That's my
that
breakout record.
there you go. There,
Yeah.
there you go. And so what went into all that? You guys were young. You were
Yes.
teenagers. All of a sudden you hit with this
Rap-
fame. I mean, after
Yep.
Eyewitness News, it was on and popping from there. Y'all, you
Oh yeah.
just kept climbing.
Yes.
What was that like? Because in Rappers Delight, you talk about being the baby of the bunch. That's okay, still keeping stride, whatever. But well, I
Yeah.
can recite that all day. But you were so that underscores how young you were at the time.
Yes.
how did you adjust? How did you take that in, that this was happening and now you are famous?
Yeah, well, I was going to the 12th grade, so we recorded Rappers Delight my junior year in high school, and the summer of my junior year going into my senior year. So at that point, I was basically a lower middle class kid in Englewood, and I was trying to find my way, and you know, awkward with girls and semi-popular and all this kind of thing. And then, of course, the record broke, and everything can change. Everything changed. So, I went from being, kind of able to just hang out to having to have bodyguards, and not being able to get on stage or get off the stage, and you know and so fortunately for me, again, I was around music my whole life. So, and my mother, who was really my rock. My mother had me when she was 15. So in so many, in a sense, we kind of grew up together,
Hmm.
and so I had a very close relationship with my mother, and she was very grounded. So the information and the teachings and the conversations that I had with my mother helped me deal with the meteoric success of the group. Now, even with that being said, and then I also had my dad who helped me with the technical aspects and that aspect. Even with that being said, it's still unnatural to be famous. I don't care. Even to this
Right.
day, it's still unnatural for me now. It's
Right.
still unnatural for people to want to talk to me. It's unnatural for people to act a certain way around me. Like I can go into a place and just be eating dinner, let's say, and person has no clue that they know my music, and it
Hmm.
won't bother me. But the minute somebody says, "Hey, well, do you know who that is?" That's, I'll never be just Guy O'Brien. I'm Guy O'Brien, who is professionally known as Master G. That's an unnatural way to live.
Yeah.
So that's been my struggle my whole life, you know. So yes, it's very unnatural, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes a lot of people that experience fame have a hard time dealing with it. I happen to be very fortunate that I lived enough life and I've gone through enough to be able to handle it, and it doesn't get me, I get it.
Yeah. Rashonda?
Yeah, as an artist, you may be hesitant to answer this question, but I'm interested. The legend, what do you think of today's rap?
I think it's phenomenal. I think today's rap, and see, I get this question all the time. And what I mean by that is you have to understand every single thing that an older generation is saying about the rap today, the older generation was saying about my rap when I first hit the street. Because you have to understand, again, because we're the first, okay, there was nothing but us. So everything before us was Ohio Players and the Dramatics and all of the R&B and all of the soul and all of that. So all of those older people said exactly what people try to tell me about rap today. It's not music. It's terrible. We talked about, I can bust you out my super sperm. They thought that was too racy. How could you be talking about these different things? Every single thing that people try to say about hip hop today, it was said about every song that I ever cut in my whole life. So what I say to people is the envelope has been pushed further. You can say more, you can do more. And we were middle class kids. So we talked about middle class kid things. Once it got to the Bronx, they talked about what they were going through. Once it got to the dirty South, once it got to, the West Coast, people talk about what they know. So, what I think is it's a direct representation of what the music is always been, an expression of what's going on with the people that have a handle on it. And not only that, it's one of the situations that have changed the lives of individuals who might not have had the opportunity to do what they do. I just had a conversation. Jay-Z started out in the projects of Brooklyn, New York, and the man is a billionaire making deals with the NFL and other corporations and so forth. He did that because he started rapping. So you
Mhm.
want to know what I think about rap today? I think it's a great situation. And just like anything else, it's got its good, it's got its bad, it's got its evil.
Yeah. You guys,
So basically, I'm my grandma.
So am I. So am I. It's not for you. It's not talking to you. It's
Yeah,
talking to your
yeah,
grandchild. It's talking
Right.
to your,
yeah.
20 something. It's talking to your 18-year-old. Because look, all the girls that thought I was cute were 15, 16, 17-year-old girls. All the girls that think Yachty is cute or what? 15, 16, 17-year-old girls, 20-year-old girls. It's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, you were the first. You paved the way. You talk about opening doors. You broke down doors for what we see today, right? Yet, yet you guys were not on the Grammys 50th anniversary celebration.
Mhm.
My man was LL. That's my boy and all.
Yeah.
But I don't see
Mhm.
why and how we could have
Mhm.
anything when it comes to hip hop and not directly acknowledge the Sugar Hill Gang, and
Right.
Rapper's Delight. I mean,
Right.
how did you how was that you guys didn't get that call?
Well, first of all, I don't really subscribe to the whole Grammy situation. I don't really, get caught up in any of those award situations. I'm not saying that I wouldn't accept an award if they gave it to me, but for me,
Mhm,
the ability to be able to write, record, tour, do business, perform on a national level, on an international level, all the things that I do as a direct result of my music is my concern. So the fact that everybody around me is more bent out of shape about the whole Grammy thing than I am. You
mhm.
know, I personally think that somebody just dropped the ball. I just honestly think that's what happened. I'm sure the conversation came up. I'm sure it went across the table, and somebody just did drop the ball. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, like I said, that's not my reality. I try to explain that to people. Notoriety is not my reality. It's the ability to do my thing. I'm 44 years later. I am still able to do something that I was doing at 15 years old in house parties in New Jersey. That's a phenomenal situation, man.
yeah.
It's
So
the
Mike
best
V is
form.
asking.
It's the best form of what I do. I just finished doing 3 shows up in Canada. It the act of getting on stage and rocking a crowd is still the best form of all of this. And that's all,
Yeah,
to me, at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
yeah. Chuck D talks about that a lot of
Yeah.
how getting on that stage, and it's just that's where it's at. I want to lift this question up from one of our viewers, Master G, Mike V. He says, "Can Master G speak to the violence amongst black men in hip hop, and did any of that exist during your era when you guys first came out?"
So there in our arena, or more than the streets, it was the stick up kid and that
Yep.
kind of thing was going on back in the day before we became a recording artist. I unfortunately think that there's too much freedom, and therefore there's too much confusion, and with confusion becomes a lot of one against the other. And then the other thing too is that there's the energy is getting distorted because there's so many more situations and scenarios going on around it. So I feel it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's like you have a child and that child grows up.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the child will go down a bad road. You just got to pull that child back.
Right.
So that's kind of what's happening now. It's kind of gone down a bad road because this is this it's a multi-billion dollar situation, and
Yep.
millions of people have a handle on it now. That's very hard to contain. And when energy and poverty and negativity come into play, sometimes what'll tend to happen is, you get what you got now. So I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic that we could kind of get to a point where, we could put some more positive energy into what's happening, and we could talk more about the positive things in hip hop as opposed to the negative things in hip hop.
Yeah. You guys in recent years, you lost Hank.
Yes,
Unfortunately, he passed away.
yes.
What do
And
you
Mike is
miss
very
most?
sick too. Mike is
Oh,
very
okay.
sick too now. He doesn't tour anymore. So it's just I'm the only one still out actively performing. But yes,
Wow. What do you miss most about Hank? And tell us a little bit more about Mike. You say he's very sick. Certainly, we
yeah,
certainly send our strongest and most
please.
dearest regards.
Yeah. The best that Hank was, you have to listen any record any Sugar Hill song that you ever listen to, Hank's voice when you hear it.
Hmm.
The thing I miss about Hank is his bigness, his ability to be able to command a crowd, and he was just a vivacious person, and he had a wonderful personality, and he was always fun loving, and it was incredible. Everybody can't cut on, like your energy can't doesn't always transfer on a recording. It's one of the reasons why A lot of people might be able to write, but they can't record. A lot of singers sometimes they can write, but they can't record, or vice versa. You can't fake what Hank did on those records. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
He cuts through. It didn't matter whether we were in the studio, on a stage, at a party. It didn't matter. So the thing I miss about Hank is just his energy and his ability to be able to rock a crowd.
Yeah.
And then the thing about Mike is, Mike is my best friend. We've been best friends. A lot of bands, they break up and the people don't
Yep.
talk and they can't get along. And I tell everybody, Mike is my longest running relationship. We've been friends for 44 years right now,
Wow.
and we've never not been cool. We've never not been friends. We talk, all the time. We talk. He just unfortunately has been dealing with health complications his whole life. And, we're not young men anymore. I'm 61, Mike's 65. He'll be 66 next month. Fortunately, I've been able to, I train feverishly. I eat a very clean lifestyle. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do a lot of those things that, cause age to take a toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, unfortunately, was never really a super healthy person. So he's just dealing with the complications of just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
A 60-year-old car is not going to perform like it did when you first bought it. I mean, that's just what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And just thinking about Hank, this is for Hank. The Knicks have won 9 straight games. They beat the Celtics last night.
I heard. I went to a Knicks game. I went to a Knicks game about a month ago, and they lost to the Clippers. I went to that Clipper game that they played the Garden, and they lost in overtime. And I was
Last game they've
pissed off.
lost.
And that's the last game they lost because they've been winning ever since. So go Knicks. Because I'm a Knicks fan to the day I die. I'm a Knicks fan.
I'll be in the Garden tomorrow night. So
see,
there you go. Rashonda's out in Houston, Master G. So she she got those Rockets out there. We don't need Rockettes out there.
Nothing wrong. I mean, hey, right on.
We still rooting for them.
Listen, I've been a Knicks fan since I was knee high to a duck's butt. So
here we go.
I'm
now you're showing your age.
That's okay. I got no problem with showing my age. I'm looking good. Trust me.
There you go.
I know that's right.
That's right.
Master G told us too. You've been married 20 plus years or something of that nature. That's in your business. It seems that's the hardest thing to do is to be married for any length of time. But how have you been able to do it?
I just give her whatever she wants and don't, question what she does.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, there you go.
No,
that's
ma'am.
the secret to a long marriage.
She says, no
Love
more
it.
rappers
You need to
to
write
life.
a book on that.
No, she'll never say that because that's the moneymaker, baby.
That's the moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So on March 11th, again, Saturday, the National Hip Hop Museum grand induction ceremony and grand opening of its retail and event space with Executive Director Master G and DJ Boom. What else can we expect at this on Saturday, Master G?
Oh, we're going to get some live performances. There's going to be some aha moments. It's going to be some right now and going down situations. It's the Monster Jam, baby. It's the Monster Rockstar Jam, baby. So you need to come on out and be a part of what's going down in our town, in the DMV, with Jeremy Beaver and the Master G.
Well, here we go.
See, I just kind of just did that for you real quick.
Yeah, see, now that's what I call freestyling, right?
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Hey, look, let me ask you a question before, Rashonda, I'll throw it to you in a moment. I know Master G is going to have to run shortly, but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Other than the Sugar Hill Gang, who give me a couple of your favorite artists, either today from your era.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you listen to?
For my era, I think Houdini, Jalil, and Ecstasy. Shout out to Ecstasy, who's no longer with us. But oh my God, one of my all-time favorites from my time. I think Melly Mel is one of the greatest hip hop artists in the history of this thing. I think he's a great lyricist and he's a phenomenal individual. And there's so many people. Curtis was incredible. Is incredible. Moving forward, everything that L has done has been, phenomenal. All that whole era is. I have so many favorites. Hammer, Hammer's revolutionary situation with, because I'm a big business person, so I love what people have done on both sides of the microphone, I call it.
Right.
So everything that Hammer did to merge into, media and advertising and marketing and that kind of thing. And then you go into the modern day stuff. I hear it. Am I listening to it on my phone in my head when I'm working out? No, but I hear it.
Mhm.
But what I listen to a lot of is J. Cole's phenomenal. Common is incredible. Um, uh, Kanye is amazing. I know he's done a lot of wild things, but as an artist, he's created
Right.
some great
Right.
bodies of work. Just many, many, many artists that are out there doing phenomenal things. So
And
I listen to a little bit of it all, man.
don't forget the microphone fiend.
Oh yeah, of course. Come on,
He was a
Rakim
fiend
is.
before he became a
Come on,
teen.
man. Come on, man. Rakim. Come on, man.
That dude.
Don't even get me started about him. I mean, just the way that the lyrical content and the wordsmith,
Oh
or the
man.
wordsmanship that this guy possesses.
Yep.
I was like, I don't even want to do this no more when I started hearing what he was doing.
Rock him and say peace.
Right.
Oh man, that dude. You
Yeah.
talk about because they used to say all the time, like you said earlier, like, oh, this is not music, it's not gonna last, it's a fad or whatever. Then when you get a Rakim who can just pick that mic up and then just take it to a level which nobody
There you
could ever
go.
even dream of.
There you go.
That
So
dude
you
is
can't.
incredible.
Totally, 100%. I agree with you 10 times fold. Incredible. I've had the honor and the pleasure of meeting him. Actually did an induction ceremony with him at Ivy City Smokehouse here in DC. So, and that was the first time I actually really had a chance to say what you're just saying right now.
Yeah.
We had like a moment where it was just him and I kind of said exactly what you're saying. Man, you're phenomenal. I mean, the things that you've done and the person that you are and what you represent, is part of the reason why we are where we are and we do what we do. So yeah, that was a good thing for me to have that opportunity to, speak to him.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he and Eric B can find some peace
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do what they do. But
It's hard, man. It's
yeah,
hard, man. People don't understand. Like I said about me and Mike, people don't get it. We're very rare that we been together, man. Most times it's this again this fame and this success and notoriety. All of this, man, is very hard to deal with.
yeah.
Very, very hard to
And it's
deal
good to
with.
see what Eric B is doing with his career. It's good to see.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got that role on Blue Bloods. I keep telling my brother Darren is really close with both of them,
I just saw
Eric
him.
B and
Yeah,
Rakim, and I keep telling my brother you got to give Eric B some props because I used to get on Eric B constantly about when he first started on Blue Bloods, like this guy can't act, Darren. He can't act. Darren's like, nah, he's good, he's good. And now I enjoy seeing him on it. I watched last night. In fact, from Friday's show, I watched last night, and I was like, yeah, that dude's gotten so much better on the acting side. But I still want to see him and Rakim get
yeah,
together in the studio again. They went on tour for a little bit a few years ago and
yeah, yeah.
fell
It's
apart. But
unfortunate.
but you
Yeah,
mentioned too, like you and Mike. I got a big up to Will Smith because him and Jazz,
I just saw
he
Jazz. Yeah,
he brought
him and
Jazz
Jazz are the
everywhere he
same way.
went.
Same thing. Him and Jazz been friends for decades as well. You know, I don't know. There's just something about when Mike and I, we share something that nobody else around us really can share. Like even the guys that work with us and the people that know us and the people that do business with us, they'll never know what it's like to be me and Mike in 1979. They'll never know what that feels like. I can't even explain it. We're the only two people, like when we have conversations, we talk about things that nobody else can really relate to. What it's like, what it feels like to be us. So that's
Mhm.
part of what keeps us together because we need each other.
Yeah, Rashonda.
So my question before we let you go, you're
There go my
an
dude right there.
inspiration to
Yep.
people that are going to step out and do something that has never been done before. Did you all
Uh-huh.
ever look at when you're starting? Did you all ever say, okay, nothing like this has been done before. Maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should try and do something else? Or did you just go in and say, we're doing us and let the world catch on?
We once we went in the studio and cut Rappers Delight, everything just kind of happened. We didn't even have a chance. It wasn't even a question of that. We were really just dealing with the feeling. It was going down, so we were dealing with it. and then just one thing came after another, opportunities to tour. And then we started getting the opportunities to be on Soul Train. And, it just continued to build. And then we would go in the studio and, we would work it. You don't know history is happening when you're making it. And that's kind of what was going on. I was, again, like I said, I realized one night that I was on stage that this was my calling. And from that point on, I was just working to do the thing that I was given the ability to do.
Wow. And Mike V writes in, he has a question. He says, have you been to Africa? And he wants your take on Afro beats, if you have a take on Afro beats.
I think Afro beats is again the evolution. I think it's an amazing expression, and I like the idea of the international aspect of it. Like you had you got the reggaeton, which is the Latin American version, and it's all hip hop. Now, when you get it, when you get through rapping, and when you get through talking about music, it's all like a basic version of rap music, because this is what the expression is now giving people an opportunity to do. So the Afro beats, I love it. I like the cadence. I like the sound. I've not been to Africa yet. I've been offered a few opportunities to go. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But that's my take on it. I'm a musician, so I'm a drummer by nature. So I love music.
And finally, your thoughts on Mr. Clyde Stubblefield, the funky drummer.
Amazing, incredible. Yeah.
Power 96 writes that in, that he wasn't included. His beat started hip hop. He says, "Rest in power, the funky drummer." So, Master G,
yes.
we really appreciate you taking out the time for the Black Press of America. This has been cool. It's been really, really cool. But what will make it cool is you and Rashonda go MASTER.
Wow.
With a double E.
I'm gonna let you. Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead and handle that one. Because
Rashonda.
Come on. Gonna go by the unforgettable name of the man they call Master G.
Damn, there you go.
Thanks so much, Master G. Thanks, Rashonda Tate Billingsley. And thank you all for watching Let It Be Known. We'll see you again tomorrow.
All right. Bye-bye.